digital rights management. You want to talk about that for a second?
In a way, that's what I've been talking about, but it's been kind of disguised as other things. And I almost hate to use the term because it's offensive to a lot of people. But right now, I mean, the record companies and publishers have had really two main approaches to trying to stop the hemorrhaging in their industries. And one is go after the people who are breaking the law, but that's probably most of the people we know. And it just isn't going to work. I mean, you can't do that. They are, you keep reading about the RIAA stepping up lawsuits against students in particular, downloading vast amounts. But those are really random and specialized instances, and they can't be widespread. That's one solution. The only other solution that they've at least embraced so far is the notion of digital rights management, where there's some type of limitation on your use of something that you have theoretically purchased. And then that gets into even a deeper question is, well, what have you purchased and what are your rights, once you have purchased? And then that gets into fair use arguments and it goes on and on. But right now, I mean, that's where it is. And you can trace it back to about 1980, with the advent of the compact disc. And at first, the record companies were just going nuts because it's like, hey, we can sell James Taylor all over again, or the Beatles, or somebody from the 60s. But then this little light goes off in their head, and it's like, well, wait a minute. Every single consumer has a perfect copy. And, okay, well, that's okay. You know why? Because nobody can afford a digital audio tape machine. That's 10 years away from now, so let's just keep on going. Well, guess what? Digital audio tape comes around toward the end of the 80s, and the record companies go nuts because now you can make pretty much a perfect copy of your perfect copy. And they pass a few laws. But you know what? As always, they're looking at the wrong part of the board. Because in the meantime, a new compression format, MP3, comes online, and DAT's no longer relevant, and the record companies begin the bleeding. And finally, they put enough pressure on Congress to adopt the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which also puts us in compliance with the rest of the world. So that's kind of cool. But really what they're trying to do is to triage this thing, which is now bleeding to death at a profound rate. So they only have two choices. Basically, they can either go after each and every one of the people who are downloading, which is a large numbers of your friends and family, or they can try to come up with digital rights management.
It's hard to criminalize so many people. Must be 50 million people downloading music.
Oh, there's a lot more than that. I think Kazaa, at its peak, it was something like. I don't remember. The program itself had been downloaded 300 million times or something like that. And at any given moment, there were 3 million people. Don't quote me on that. I think that was the number. And of course, ultimately, just like Napster, Aimster, Kazaa, and there's been a lot of the peer-to-peer cases, they all ultimately lose, and they all pay $50 to $100 million to the recording industry. And then they try to make it a legitimate business and generally don't do well.
That's true.